Welcome back to Inside Post Challenge, part of the Road to the Triple Crown, sponsored by Adequan. This week, we're taking a look at the Coolmore Lexington Stakes. Spring is in full bloom here in Lexington, Kentucky. We're out here at Keeneland Racecourse. Horses are on the track, horses are in the paddock. Everybody's looking good. We're right smack dab in the middle of the Keeneland spring meeting. I'm Tom Law. I'm joined by Ed DeRosa. We're out here at Keeneland. We're going to take a look at the Coolmore Lexington Stakes today, part of the Inside Post Challenge. Ed, we had 2 races the last 2 weekends. We only have 1 race this weekend. Yep. One of the last stops on the road to the Kentucky Derby. Ed, what do you think?
Well, this is really might not even be a stop for most of the horses in this race since they're so far out of the earnings picture if they're even nominated. But a couple in here, Uptown Charlie Brown and Connemara, could maybe sneak in the picture with a win only. It's definitely going to take a win in this race to have any Derby prospects. But this has been a Preakness prep before. There's plenty of great 3-year-old races throughout the year. And actually, I think this field is as deep as the Bluegrass. I think it's a really good field.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Bluegrass. You had 7 horses in the Bluegrass that only had 1 win, and you had a couple horses that had 3 wins in here. But this race, you know, horses have a little bit better credentials, like you said. You even have a couple horses in here. Krypton and Bushwhack actually ran earlier in the meet, so you have horses kind of coming back off wins on the poly track in here. So I don't mean to put you on the spot in here, but do you really think that the winner, depending on who it is, say it's a horse that maybe doesn't have a lot of graded stakes earnings, are they going to be able to get into that 20 spot, into the starting gate for the Derby?
Like I said, Connemara and Uptown Charlie Brown would definitely be on the periphery, so with a few scratches and a win here, they could be in the Derby gate. I don't see any horse from this race making a lot of noise in the Derby, though I do think it's a talented bunch. But the thing I look for at Keeneland, this is a 1.16 race. I'm a big believer in you need to be close to the pace. I don't think you could come from way out of it, as Krypton has done in his 2-turn races. So I'm definitely looking at the pace situation for this heat.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough turnaround coming back in 2 weeks and running in the Derby. You know, it's been tried a few times. Obviously, Charismatic did it in 1999. He won the Derby and the Preakness. You know, after he had run quite a bit that spring, so he had kind of gotten used to running a lot and a high frequency of races, but it really hasn't been done. Like you said, nobody's really made any noise since then.
There's been a few 17th and 18th place finishes from here into the Derby too, so I think it works both ways.
Yeah, Advice last year was
Quentin's Gold Rush.
Pretty far back in the field. So speaking of Advice, I think trainer Todd Pletcher, I mean, he's got like a vice grip on the Lexington Stakes. And actually, I'm going to go with him in here, not Eggsy, who actually you talked about being a pace candidate. But I'm going to go with Connemara. Russell Bays comes in from Northern California, stays on this horse. Actually, he's ridden him out a few times, actually rode him in the Lane's End Stakes. He finished, you know, kind of a non-threatening third, but he got a little bit of a bad start. He had a wide trip in there, and he never runs a bad race.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about that race. You were asking about excuses. I definitely think Connemara had more of an excuse not to win than Chief Counsel, who was 4th in that race and is also in this race. The second place horse in that race from the Lucas Barn did not fare well in the Arkansas Derby, but that was on dirt. I think the Lane's End is going to turn out to be a good race, especially on synthetics and maybe turf. But I'm going with Uptown Charlie Brown. Obviously a very sentimental choice for some with his trainer passing earlier this week, but I just think he has great tactical speed. I think the races at Tampa were decent. I'm not sure they were A+ quality like we've seen with some of the Looking at Lucky and Escondrea races, but I do think they were solid races, and I think his class fits here, and so does his pace.